Hello and welcome to the Source One podcast, your online or on-the-go source for the latest insights in the procurement, supply management, and strategic sourcing industry. Today's guest is Naseem Malik, Managing Partner for MRA Global Sourcing. Continuing our earlier discussion, Naseem and I talk about how the year 2014 shaped up for supply management staffing and recruiting.
If you could encapsulate it into a few sentences, what was the average 2014 supply management candidate looking for?
Beyond just a whole lot more money, you mean?
Yeah, ideally, right.
Right. Now, so the candidates, the candidates we're working with, we see that they're almost all of them are looking for opportunities where they can make a difference, where they can develop strategies and deliver tangible results, and also be rewarded and recognized as well. So, obviously, this is a bit of a generalization as you look at different types of candidates, right? Whether they're Generation X or whether they're millennials, things will vary. But by and large, the ability to deliver and the ability to be recognized has been an important trait. And then also, strong, reputable leadership roles within a transformational environment is what we find to be most appealing to these candidates as well.
Okay, well, flip that on its head. What was the average company looking for in 2014 for their supply management candidates?
They're looking for candidates to get 10 out of 10 on every criteria that they had.
Right.
So there's some level setting in terms of expectation that we actually have to do on a pretty consistent and ongoing basis. But by and large, right, one of the more important things they're looking for is they want candidates or practitioners, professionals that are truly understand what it means to be change agents. And they've got to have the ability to work in a matrix environment where they can collaborate and influence multiple stakeholders to go along with what I just mentioned about the technical know-how. So these folks are now coming in, and you're working with different stakeholders across the company. So you've got to truly partner with them, right? You've got to communicate with them. You've got to be able to gain their buy-in and work together. So there's no edict here. There's no stick they're carrying that will force their partners to work with them internally. You've got to show them the value of what they're doing and how procurement is going to be a partner to help achieve those goals. So, and also another thing which some of the more progressive companies are doing is making sure that the goals are aligned between the functions and between partners. That's an area which helps tremendously, right? So anytime you have engineering and purchasing together have a joint savings goal, you'll get those results, and you'll get that partnership and rapport building a lot quicker than if it's just one party chasing the other.
So it sounds like it's a matter of Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, but also having the knowledge to back it up.
Absolutely. These are folks now that are coming in with nowadays you've got candidates with great backgrounds. You've got supply chain management degrees. You've got all these executive courses and certificates, and great. They get the technical piece. They understand the value of low-cost country sourcing. They know e-sourcing. They understand technology. They understand how big data is changing everything from transparencies to all the way to the other end of the chain when it comes to logistics and delivery. So yeah, that part is given, but they need people to come in and they can truly make sense of all of this data, that can articulate and communicate and work internally and externally. So understand, because this then segues into, okay, if you've got those requisite skills, if you can win, as you said, win friends and influence people internally, you'll be able to do that externally as well and have those strong, solid SRM skills that are needed to give your company that competitive advantage.
So Naseem, was there a particular industry or spend category that stood out to you in 2014 as being in demand or remarkable in some way?
Yeah, that's a good question. We definitely had, we noticed a shift in terms of the spend categories in that indirect side has continued to grow in significance. And within it specifically, it was marketing and HR has been in high demand. So yeah, you've got the professional services. There's always been an element of that. But if we drill down and get a little bit more granular, those are the two areas that we're finding much more of a renewed interest from our clients.
Well, as you and our listeners know, that indirect spend can make up for 40% or more of an organization's total expenses. And oversight of those indirect categories is it's often left to the group that owns the budget. But the problem is the stakeholders who manage the spend category or who sign the original agreements, they tend not to have formal training in procurement or strategic sourcing, or at least they don't always think of their expenditures as strategic requirements within the overall organizational budget. You mentioned earlier that need to be aligned across verticals or across to use the consultant dirty word, silos. We've seen this same trend at Source One with marketing and HR professional services being in demand. Spend management in professional services and marketing, they're relatively new disciplines in the evolution of the strategic sourcing or procurement function. You just can't manage them the way that you manage, for example, office supplies with products and other tangibles. You're working against a statement of work. So for office supplies, the company either shipped your pens and paper on time and in the right quantity, or they didn't. They either billed you correctly or they didn't. But when you're managing spend for consultants or people in an advisory or service capacity, you want that strategic partnership, and it becomes much more qualitative than quantitative. What feedback have you gotten as to why clients need help in these categories?
Yeah, what we find from our clients' perspective is, we have a whole gamut of, why certain roles we see have gained in significance. So if we're looking at newly created roles, sometimes there's a renewed emphasis on, okay, we need to take a look at our indirect categories. It's been an area that's been neglected, or leadership in the past has never really thought it to have the kind of impact that really can. So, these roles are created anew. We have leadership that's come in that gets the value of it, right? It's a new CPO or a new VP that comes in, and he or she realizes, hey, we have hundreds of millions, hypothetically, in terms of spend, and this goes to the bottom line faster than most of our other direct stuff. So we need to focus on this, or it's a transformational environment. Companies realize that they need to upgrade talent. They need to bring in the right people with the right background in terms of that can go and attack the spend. And sometimes they'll even bring in third-party consultants like yourselves, like Source One or others that have that expertise. We've seen some of the more progressive CPOs saying, you know what, I'm not going to have 20 people do this. I'll have 3 or 4, and they'll manage this externally. But those 3 or 4 people that I'm going to hire, they better know all of these categories. They better understand the market dynamics. They better understand how to manage these partner consultants of ours and manage results internally for our organization. So that's an area as to why we're seeing more of an importance on this side. And also it varies by client, right? If you're looking at indirect categories and you're looking at why this is gaining traction, naturally the financial industries, services, insurance, those areas where indirect spend is 100% of their spend, that's an area that now procurement has become much more visible. They have a seat at the table at the executive level, and thus they're beginning to focus on this. You look at the manufacturing side, you've got some companies now that over the years had never thought twice about this, but would once again the importance and visibility that procurement and supply management brings to the company and can bring to the bottom line. They're now being asked to delve into the indirect space and help deliver some quick results.
You're mentioning a lot that there's a superior need to have the right size, right fit, and right time solution. That in essence, there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution for your clients, just as there aren't for us. But do you follow a different process when you're helping a client with securing resources to manage some of the qualitative versus the quantitative? Is it the same process? How does MRA Global work?
Yeah, no, that's an important point for us, especially on the process side. Having a background in the procurement supply management function, what was drilled into us is that what helps set us apart is process excellence. And whether it's value add internally with our stakeholders or even externally on the supply side. So we try to bring that same mindset and process to the world of recruiting and search. So we've come up with a 7-step search process for ourselves. And essentially, to your question, the process will stay the same. Our process at its core is everything from an opportunity assessment with clients to connecting a needs analysis profile to co-creating an aligned approach, a project plan, to surfacing, evaluating candidates, to prepping and conducting interviews, debriefs, to helping broker offers and the transition, and then providing ongoing support. So in a nutshell, that's what our 7-step process entails. And regardless of whether it's on the quantitative side, it could be manufacturing, engineering, operations, technical roles, or it could be qualitative, as you mentioned. It could be pure strategy roles, consulting, management consulting roles that we're working on. The process pretty much stays the same, and we can tailor it for more specifics on industry, geography, company, candidate background. But we try to keep it within the same 7-step umbrella.
Yeah, I would say that's the same for Source One. We have, the business, the core business of what we do is strategic sourcing, and we have our process that we follow. That's the same process, the same steps, but within each of those steps, there's a lot of room for flexibility to fully tailor the approach to the client. So the idea is that we know the steps that we're going to take, but how we're specifically going to execute them, that's going to be up to the needs and the requirements of each individual client. And so it allows for that flexibility where you can deliver superior results by following a repeatable process. And it sounds like that's very much what you and MRA are doing.
Absolutely.
Well, Naseem, I think that's all the time we have for today. Really appreciate you being here. Look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Stay tuned for our next podcast, where we talk to Naseem's colleagues about how 2015 is shaping up. Thanks for tuning in to the Source One podcast. Remember to visit us at sourceoneinc.com and read our blog at strategicsorcerer.com. Want to provide some feedback? Got an idea for a topic we should cover? Let us know by emailing prrequest@sourceoneinc.com. Thanks for listening.